plane. I'm on the infinite plane. Stay with the infinite gang.
All right, we are live. It's 9/15/2025. A few interesting new developments. Things are very meta-scripty right now, as always. It's not like it ever lets up. We're not pointing out anomalies. We're not pointing out glitches in the so-called matrix. We're just noticing patterns, that's all. And we have receipts. And one of the things I wanted to point out today has to do with this strange. I have to just show you because it's just strange when you look at these things separately. But the other night, Jurassic Liars called in, and he was talking about this scenario being played out on the stage at World Wrestling Entertainment. Right there, they had this thing where The Rock and Travis Scott beat up some guy named Cecil Rhodes, I believe, and he was whacked with a belt that has a very specific date on it, and he was also slapped on the side of the head. And so this resulted in an ear wound, specifically a busted eardrum and a black eye. And the WWE insists that this was real. Sure it is. But looking at this ear wound and the eye wound had me thinking about Jay Leno. So let's just go ahead and start with this. If you remember a few months ago, Jay Leno fell down a hill and he bruised his eye pretty badly. And before this, he was in an accident, some kind of a fire, and his ear was burned off. And alarmingly, he describes how they just burn up like paper. So his ear burned off, and he has a new ear, which he was showing off. So here you have Jay Leno. First, it's an ear wound, then it's an eye wound, and then this got us thinking because Synchromorpheus pointed this out. Elon Musk was at a speech at a place called McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania. And he said, "It's all fun and games until someone loses an eye or an ear. Hopefully I don't get shot." So here's Elon Musk joking about getting shot, like Trump, obviously. But it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye or an ear. And we've already talked about the WWE significance of the Trump event. And we talked about the Braveheart connection in the way that it's framed, visually, in the way it was depicted. But the entire event had WWE all over it. And at the RNC, when Trump was giving his speech after undergoing the failed assassination attempt, after surviving it, he was giving a speech at the RNC, and Hulk Hogan was one of the speakers. And if you remember, Hulk Hogan had described how during Hulkamania, he was bleeding on his face looking down at Donald Trump. And now the situation was reversed. And Trump blew a kiss at him. And I thought that was kind of interesting because obviously these situations weren't quite analogous, were they? Because Hulk Hogan would have been using stage blood, or he would have engaged in blading. And blading is when wrestlers use little blades and they cut themselves. Superficial cuts, but they bleed down their face, mixes with the sweat, very dramatic. And it almost seemed like he was kind of giving it away that Trump had bladed himself, cut his own ear. So the WWE connection's notable here. So we've been talking about this. So to get back to this subject, Elon Musk said, "It's all fun and games until someone loses an eye or an ear. I hope I don't get shot." This was in Pennsylvania, not Butler, but close. Now, this is what Jurassic Liars called about. The Rock had a belt with the date 6/11 on it, and he used it to hit Cody Rhodes. Travis Scott slapped Rhodes and busted an eardrum. So here's a headline from R&B. What magazine is this? This is from Billboard.com. Travis Scott gave Cody Rhodes a busted eardrum and black eye during WWE attack. So according to this Daily Loud report, Travis Scott injured Cody Rhodes, who suffered a busted eardrum and a black eye following Travis Scott's smack during the Elimination Chamber match. So if you're looking at the picture, you have John Cena in the back. You have Travis Scott pummeling Cody Rhodes, who's bleeding on the right side of his head. So what I'm pointing out here also is that WWE is consistently used as a vector for predictive programming. They've been doing this stuff since 9/11, and who knows what else. All kinds of weird stuff with WWE. So the summary here is this. There's predictive programming of the Trump head wound scenario with the Jay Leno consecutive wounds to the ear, then the eye. The assassination joke by Elon Musk mentioning the ear and the eye and the WWE scenario all ties into this because according to, as per the predictive programming, the ear wound was just kind of a sort of a setup shot for the big one. That there's going to be a second one. And that's kind of what we've been waiting for here. So also worth noting here, The Rock's Elvis connections. And then Chris Rock getting slapped might have some significance here. Travis Scott is associated with the Astro World crushing deaths. And I believe, yeah, there's a lot of weird satanic stuff, a lot of 666s, but the whole Astro World crushing deaths, of course, were they auto-tuned to death? Or were they seriously crushed? And we looked into this. There was a video called Escape that was released just before that concert where the people were crushed. And in the video Escape, Travis Scott is wearing a shirt from the Rock Slide Festival with Pearl Jam from 20 years before. And at the Rock Slide Festival, there were 50,000 attendees and 9 people were crushed to death. Astro World, 50,000 attendees, 9 people crushed to death. Little predictive there. We looked at this one in depth. But again, the 7/11 date on the belt connects to Trump in a number of ways, but specifically, the 7/13/2024 shooting was at 6:11 p.m. And the number 6:11 has a great deal of significance to the right wing. It's one of their big Bible verses, and it ties into a lot of predictive programming on that side of the political horseshoe. So, for the most part, that's what Jurassic Liars was bringing up the other day. Some kind of significance here with all these actors, these wrestlers, that is. But the ear and the eye thing just kind of stood out as a pattern worth drawing attention to. So let's see who's here in the chat. All right, we have 5 dozen people here already. King Ravana, Mango Penguins, Diana South, Clockwork 113, Roxy, Jimbo Akimbo, Wake Soto, Greg R, Let's Go, Dominic, and okay, excellent. So if you want to go ahead and share the stream, feel free. Just tweet it or post it on Blue Sky if that's your site. Blue Sky is where they're organizing against Musk and Trump. And I have to say that 3-4 was a huge nothing burger for 50 protests in 50 states. I didn't see one single video of one single trash can burning. It was just, I don't know if it's a funding issue or if it's the weather. All right, continuing here. Let's go ahead and open up my minds.com/Infinite Plane Society. And I have a new members only video that I'm preparing for the mornings, which is basically your comments. So if you leave comments on any of my blogs, any of my videos, and I don't get to it live, which oftentimes I don't, I'm going to be addressing all that separately. Also, stuff that's sent to me by a P.O. box. In fact, I did get a comic book, an anime comic book sent to me. I just read through it this morning. I'll be sending a message to the author because we're likely going to include part of it in the Insider. Project Honda Rod just got the Rubik's Cube art piece. Let me think. Rubik's Cube art piece, probably with the penguin. I did a few of those. Appreciate it, though. Okay, listen to this. A copycat, Luigi copycat, and we have some Luigi news. United Humanists on Instagram. A gunman was captured on security video shooting up the Oregon home of an insurance company CEO, who was emailed threats by someone who claimed to be the shooter. We have insurance CEO's home riddled with bullets. The shooter's on the run. Now, should we say the shooter or the hero? or what do you call him? You got peaceful protesters. What do you call CEO killers? How are they going to euphemize this? The class warrior, the social justice warrior. Anyway, the home of State Accident Insurance Fund Corporation CEO Chip Terhune in Lake Oswego near Portland was shot up in the early hours of February 21st at close range by somebody wearing a hoodie. Probably a ghost gun, a 3D printed gun. What's up, Hero Paranormal? Want to buy a copy of Secret Religion of the Elite? Any places to buy a copy? No, I have to go ahead and order some copies. Thanks for reminding me. I'll get some. I'll be placing some orders here. I spent like half the day immersed in this program called Novel Craft. Or is it Novel Crafter? It's one of these AI prompt, Novel Crafter. It's pretty incredible. I was taking my Penguinati script through it just to see how it works. And it's not necessarily that it writes for you, but it organizes your content in such a way that it speeds up the process. It can summarize things, and it also can kind of, in addition to grammar, can monitor consistency. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But anyway, I'm going through a lot of my old manuscripts, and I'm ordering copies so I can sell them directly through here. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Deprogrammed. I have a weird psyop thing happening, trying to decide if I'm going to call in. Yeah, this is the place to call. This is the psyop hotline. Something psyop happening, call in. Now, this is old recycled news, but apparently it's making its rounds in Trutherville. Joe Rogan finally sat down to talk to somebody about Pizzagate, and he's finally taken it seriously. Pizzagate, we're talking like recycled 2015 alt media truther bait. But here's Joe Rogan taking it seriously, and they're just recycling old claims. And let's bring this up. Here we go. His name is Ian Carroll. So according to Liz Cronkin, who's a QAnoner, Ian Carroll dropped massive red pills on Joe Rogan today and eloquently laid out the truth about Pizzagate. Again, this is all fantasy, fan fiction, and there's a reason why Pizzagate's only believed by right-wingers. It's a worldview thing. It has to do with the extremes of the idealized past and traditional religious paradigms versus the progressive utopianism on the left. And so the idea of like witch hunts, satanic panics, it's still kind of endemic on the far right. It ties into blood libel, which is what QAnon is based on. And that's all this really is. This is just kind of lowbrow conspiracy claptrap. But here's Joe Rogan taking it seriously.
Had that guy come in and
I already
fire
know
off that shot.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a great way to put a halt to all the looking into the Podesta
exactly
emails.
what that was.
Because then all of a sudden it's a kook thing. Now it's a crazy person and a dangerous person because he's got a gun. You're causing dangerous people to take their guns.
Just like with the vaccines, it's like...
Anyway, you may recall this incident. The guy who went into the Comet Pizza with a gun, which was likely staged in and of itself. And now that I think about it, I believe that person's sister was the Haktua girl. You should look into it. We already have. I saw a meme. Looked pretty convincing. The names are the same. But the main thing is, Pizzagate has... it's not that it's been discredited. It's just it never had any evidence behind it. And here they are. They're still recycling this garbage years later. And Joe Rogan's acting like this is the first time he's heard it, or it's something that's been unfairly discredited. But to be clear here, Joe Rogan would be deep in the pizza sauce. Like if Pizzagate's real, Joe Rogan is in on it. He has to be. Hot dogs, ice cream cones, all of it. Because look at the hand signs. Look what he's a part of. The company that produced Fear Factor, he's so deep in the PSYOP entertainment complex that there's no way he's not a Pizzagator. So anyway, I think it's kind of a double standard. It's like, no, you can't say this person is part of the club because he makes these hand signs, and now he's helping to expose it. Sort of like Musk. These are just heroes for the right wing, for the dupes. Plain Dakota says, I fell for Pizzagate back in the day. It was odd stuff to see. Well, I was kind of inoculated against it. I'd heard about stuff from David Icke and his whole, Save the Children in adrenochrome harvesting. That came from Children of the Matrix. That's old David Icke stuff, and it had to do with reptilians. So I wasn't at all surprised by any of it, but I had looked into it. And it's largely fan fiction. It's pretty sick, in fact. The whole satanic ritual abuse community is a thing. And for a while, QAnon took that over, but they're back. And these are people who write stories about how various politicians abuse them, and then they talk about it, they do podcasts about it. But it's all just fan fiction. It's grotesque. Just extreme allegations that have no substance behind them. That's right, the shooter died in a traffic stop, so they said. You can't deny the weird Instagram posts, the weird tweets, and all the strange innuendo. That's all there. Penguinati Auto Hoaxer, could everyone on the IPS raft please pray for Stephen Drake? Gravely ill, financial dire straits. Yeah, if you're going to send thoughts and prayers, don't send it to crisis actors. Send it to people you know. Math Powerland says people like Rogan are possessed. Right. Well, I think that he's high up enough to know that there's a lot of fakery. There's no way he could be... it's implausible that anybody with a platform that size are completely out of the loop. The question is, how much in the loop are they? And I think it's kind of an open question. It's on a case-to-case basis. But I think it's a fascinating question. Okay, so we talked about Travis Scott. Now, this is kind of just... This just showed... yesterday I thought about this thing. So, last year, a couple years ago, Elon Musk was on SNL as Wario. So here he is, Wario. And I saw this video game, Luigi versus Wario Death Battle. So I juxtaposed it with Luigi and Wario as Musk. And this is exactly how things have been framed. Musk is the epitome of the rich CEO, representative of the power elite in this class warfare struggle. He's just intrinsically evil. He is Wario. Musk will destroy the world and cause war. He has spread the madness. Disease X is coming from Musk. And you could even argue that what he's doing in low Earth orbit is not only jeopardizing low Earth orbit by cluttering it with all his crap, but it's being used solely for the distribution of memes that further divide society. So this is, again, just Luigi versus Wario. I think this is significant. Awakened Mind says, Pizzagate was all about Podesta emails and James Elefantis Instagram pics. Yeah, I'm not going to defend pictures of children duct taped to ping pong tables. That's 100% weird. And there was some TV show I saw on Netflix where there was an allusion to this thing. It's not like it's without substance. Barack Obama did order $60,000 worth of hot dogs. So I don't know where the fiction begins and the fact, it's difficult to discern. Roxy says, which channel do you use to stream when you're painting? I will be using this one. And I plan on doing a painting of Luigi. I was going to start it tonight. I got sidetracked by this program, Novel Crafter. Incredible stuff. I have a lot of ideas, and one of the concepts I have is for leveraging AI to build what I'm considering to be an unguardrailed off-world stage perspective of world news events. If you recall, after the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, one of the main stories was that the AI-generated news was spreading misinformation lines, and it was going viral, and they couldn't stop it. And this was described as a problem. And I think they're trying to create this metaphor of runaway train White Noise, the movie reference that was tied into this train wreck, I think White Noise also might reference something about the need to, I guess, clarify the signal because we can't authenticate information anymore. But I think they were already setting up the public to be afraid of unadulterated access to AI because of what it could do to our information scape. How are we going to know what's authentic and what's not when it all looks convincing or it all reads convincing? Anyway, the technology is there for severe disruptions if somebody chose to do so. And I'm not interested in disrupting necessarily, but I do think we need a parallel record. And I think it could be achieved through the same tools where people could opt into reality. I'm not trying to take reality and then collide it into their news bent version of things. I'm not anti-media. I'm not trying to disrupt their whole paradigm. If anything, I'm just saying we need to have a parallel record just for posterity. I mean, history is bent. It's undeniable. And I'm not arguing that everything's fake. That's a silly mischaracterization. It's a straw man argument. We can go ahead and dispense with it. We're only arguing here that a small percentage is fake, even though I suspect much more, but provably a small percentage. And it's the small percentage of fake, staged, PR stunt psyops that matter because these drive the wider narratives. They never get challenged and they become cemented into history, carved into stone. So therefore, our history is clearly bent by the fake. It bends towards fake. That is where it's led from. So knowing this, it puts fake news into context. What's the point of fake news? Well, it's manufacturing history. And part of manufacturing history, a huge part of it, is creating world stage characters to act out historic scenes, scenarios, and events. That's where you get your constructs like Elon Musk, like Donald Trump. Sorry if you fell for them and you thought these were literal, real people engaged in some real fight against the deep state or against the left. No, it's literally all theater, and if that's a letdown, I understand. It's disappointing in a way. It's kind of a letdown, but it's also good news. It means, well, a lot of the stuff that's used to keep you up at night, the stuff that's used to scare you or influence your priorities, a lot of these things are fake. Isabel Ann says, would love Joe Rogan IPS on Joe Rogan. Now, I think the only thing we could really talk about would be the state of flat Earth, not flat earthers, but conspiracy theorists, and why conspiracy theorists are probably the only honest people, even though the whole information, the arena of ideas is so corrupt. It's like you could be as honest as you want to be. You're going to arrive at the wrong answers, but they can be forgiven. But the fakery is something that's never talked about, and I don't think he's allowed to even touch that subject. And why would they? It undermines their entire worldview. Alex Jones can't come out and say nobody died at such and such event. Now, that one event he did get in front of, he backtracked, and he was set up to, it was made to appear that he's a canary in a coal mine. That look what happens if you say this stuff. It's so offensive, it's so egregious that you get sued. And that distracted people from the essential question of, well, was he right? Because that should have been the point. And if he was going to burn down his entire life and lose billions of dollars over this story, he should have just gone all the way. Why would he have backtracked? Never made sense. Math Powerline says, the Trump Union address was staged and full of prompted acts. It was scripted to create divide in the public. Well, he did say fight, fight, fight. We're in the golden age. There was some jokes in there, some comments about 200-year-olds receiving Social Security. And then the whole thing was obviously a big PR stunt staged. It was like a Trump rally. But I'm kind of fatigued by all of it. Like, I'm really focused more on the architecture of this whole thing. Like, okay, fact. Donald Trump staged an assassination attempt or two. I mean, the Ryan Routh one was obviously fake as well. But that staged event has significant ramifications. And again, I have to go see Captain America. Maybe I'll go watch it tomorrow, because the trailer came out when Trump was shot, and the trailer had the president getting shot at while at a podium. Marvel changed the trailer after. The movie was premiering at Liberty Theater in Washington, and the ceiling collapsed. A theater, ceiling collapsing, Liberty, Washington, all very much connected. But Harrison Ford, who plays the president, was born on 7/13, the day Trump was shot, Julius Caesar's birthday, and Julius Caesar in the park featured Trump getting assassinated. So there's some connections there as well. But in Captain America, based on the trailer I've seen, the president becomes the Red Hulk, which I think references MAGA. And his antagonist is Sidewinder, played by an actor who frequently is used to represent Obama on the world stage. I call them predictive programming proxies. I could probably find something a little shorter than that, but the idea here is that there are actors who are used in movies to represent world stage, quote, real people. So there's a pattern that we've discerned here, and it's undeniable. It's one of the more interesting ones we've seen here, is that along with the predictive programming for the Trump head wound in movie after movie that we've analyzed, the antagonist is essentially the same character or specifically the same actor. In this case, the actor who plays Sidewinder plays the mayor in Megalopolis. He plays the CEO of the company in Homeland, in The Boys. He plays the CEO of the company who's the antagonist of the Homelander who represents Trump. So these are consistent patterns. So again, I call them predictive programming proxies, and it's just interesting to note which actors are used to represent. For example, Robert De Niro. He's been used to represent certain negative aspects of Trump, specifically in Machete, where he played a racist, xenophobic senator who gets shot at, and then the guy who's doing the shooting gets his ear blown off. I mean, the predictive programming is, at this point, pretty well understood to just be one aspect of faking history. They use the entertainment to create this echo chamber, but in a way to reinforce what they're about to present on the world stage. Life follows Netflix. All right, let's continue. Joe Saunders says, the meaning of life is for us to go out and take care of nature and the animals, but they took that from us because of jealousy or whatever. It's so stupid like this. Possibly. I'm not sure. I haven't figured out what the meaning of life is. I'm not quite sure. Like, this is either some kind of a purgatory, but it's like it leans toward hell, or it's something, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I almost don't care to speculate, but what I will say is this. The religions are all controlled opposition to authentic spirituality. So I don't trust any of the religions any more than I trust the news. In fact, I often say that the mainstream media is the de facto world state church, and our dominant world religion today is Nasatology. We're all Nasatologists. Unless you don't believe in NASA's space program and all their miracles they have presented to us, if you don't disbelieve in NASA, you are by default a Nasatologist. You're just as bad as a Scientologist, just better special effects. Actors are terrible. If Scientology merged with NASAtology, there would be no stopping it. The only thing holding back NASA right now is their terrible actors. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for their terrible special effects, their outdated editing, we wouldn't have a case here. We wouldn't have a point. I would be a NASAtologist. Back when I was one, and it's a doomsday cult, I believed that we were going to be taken out by some planet killer asteroid. I believed that climate change was going to kill us all. Oh, Ashrafi says, JTA is showing your Behind the Perv doc from 2021. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, Jake the A is giving attention to that, which is great. He's got a big channel. And what we described here, so Behind the Perv is about how the Flat Earth Conference organizers and all the major voices in Flat Earth were feds or peds. Plain Dakota says it's definitely a leaning hell place. Well, like the Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno. He goes through hell and then he climbs up purgatory to paradise. And it's kind of this, it makes sense. The people in purgatory have shed the worst of their natures and now they're just working their way up. But they're voluntarily carrying some like stone on their back to represent their sense of shame and guilt. And I kind of think that they're going up, and I kind of think our world doesn't have that direction. So I kind of think that we don't know which way is up, and I think our tendency is to slide back down towards the bestial, away from spirituality, and more into this reductionist view. Like I do not believe that we are merely evolved apes with massive egos. I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're latecomers to the scene. I'm more biocentric. I think the universe might have been built for us. I mean, I could be wrong, but I doubt it. But that doesn't mean I disbelieve in evolution or any of the processes which explain how we got here. I think that's almost like a side issue. Plain Dakota says the Gnostics said to stop having kids so they don't have to come here. Right, the idea that the world's intrinsically an evil place. So is that true? I mean, I'm kind of manichaeistic about it. I think maybe it's designed to be a perfect mix of good and evil, and that the evil has dominance here, and its whole purpose is to trick the light into forgetting its nature and remaining stuck here. Starboy Devoid says WWE is now on Netflix. Yeah, that tells you everything. I mean, Netflix is 100% government propaganda. It's entertaining. It has some of the best writers, the best artists, but it's 100%. As far as its utility, its function, it's propaganda first. The entertainment's just a side effect. And this has never been more clear than when Obama's Higher Ground Productions came out with that Leave the World Behind. And we use that as an example to demonstrate what we're talking about when we say that entertainment is synchronized with the news. And Leave the World Behind was one of the most obvious and ham-fisted movies when it comes to predictive programming and psyop subtext. And we're not just talking about the artists trying to reflect the times. We're talking about propaganda messaging that has deliberate connections to pre-planned fake news events, fake narratives, or narratives that are going to be promulgated later. A big one with Leave the World Behind happened to be the blackout scenarios, but planes falling from the sky. And this all has a deeper meaning anyway, because it all connects to Boeing, which was joked about in Fly Me to the Moon, which was concurrent with the time that Boeing had a lot of accidents, like a tail cone from some plane fell at some parking lot. I mean, just plane parts falling from the sky. And the Boeing thing was referenced in Fly Me to the Moon regarding disasters. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, the Boeing was also referenced with the Calypso craft getting stuck on the ISS, but it was all foreshadowed. And Boeing has been used as an example of crony capitalism. So there's a anti-capitalist bias in there. And by the way, speaking of stranded astronauts, the news media, I don't know who it was, let me check. Somebody sent a reporter up to the ISS. So think about it. They sent a reporter to the ISS to talk to the stranded astronauts. It's like, okay, well, why don't you guys just go home with just hitch a ride with CNN? Let me play this clip. And I might be misrepresenting it exactly, but I don't know. I don't see the issue here. They can send a reporter to space. How stranded are they? So here we have the reporter in space.
And we're going to hand the baton to Crew 10, and we are going to return to Earth at the end of a successful long-duration mission aboard the space station, performing that mission that we so deeply care about. and that handover will mark the continuation of a legacy.
Okay, live now from Fox, NASA stranded astronauts. And note that Butch here has a beard. This is the guy that we pointed out with the bulging forehead vein whenever he flipped upside down. Well, he's grown out a beard. Why? Castaway. You never see astronauts with beards. I mean, they get hair dye, they get Botox in space. I mean, I've pointed these inconsistencies out many times in their productions here, but in this case, he's growing out a beard because he's trying to do Tom Hanks, Castaway. They've been stranded. It's just theater.
That's been going on board the space station for 25 years, and so with that, we're happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Nick. We'll go ahead and jump right into...
And they always do this thing where they let the microphone float in front of them like it's a mic drop. Like, there you go, flat earthers. Starboy says, WWE Raw was on cable TV USA Network for 32 years before moving to Netflix. So it's their 33rd year. That's interesting. 33, as far as I can discern, means order out of chaos. It's a hallmark. It's like a gang tag. Like, we did this. It's fake. We did it to instigate chaos. And once everybody is caught up in it, we will provide the solution. We will provide order. Yeah, this is, again, ISS astronauts stranded in space. And I think there's a deeper subtext here, and we pointed this out before. The name of the capsule being Calypso, connected to the Odyssey. And then we find out that Christopher Nolan is directing the Odyssey right now. So they're on their space Odyssey and they get stranded. So what's the story here with that? Not quite sure where it leads, except that after Odysseus escapes Calypso, he has to confront the Cyclops. And he blinds the Cyclops, who then calls upon his father Poseidon to curse Odysseus. So I'm not quite sure, although Poseidon does connect to some kind of weapon, some kind of nuclear submarine, some kind of weapon that let me bring this up. The Poseidon, I think they said it could take out a coastal city. It's a weapon that Russia has. Nuclear-armed Poseidon torpedo could decimate coastal city. New nuclear torpedo. Inside Poseidon. Russia's autonomous nuclear torpedo. So there's a connection here with Poseidon. I'm not sure. But there are interesting connections in their story between space and the deep sea. In fact, there's a Woody Harrelson movie coming out called Breathe about a deep sea rescue that seems to be coming out along the same time as these astronauts being stranded. Braveheart says, I've always felt like they look like they're on a tilt-a-whirl from a county fair. Sure, I think so. I think that what we're seeing here, it's not that they're dangling on bungee cords or wires. That's a straw man. A lot of gloobers will say, there's no way they could do that flip with wires. Therefore, they're in space. And I'm like, well, no. You can't just therefore. If you can't disprove how they did this magic trick, it's therefore magic. The world stage is a magic show. And just because you can't tell how a trick is performed doesn't mean you have to walk away saying, that was real magic. I don't know how he did it. You're not supposed to know. And if you're in your seat and you're pointing, you're looking where the magician says to look, you're not going to see through the trick. It's by design. And the ISS is the same thing. It's just a magic show. And just because you can't tell how they're performing very specific feats doesn't mean that you have to default to magic or default to space. And we were speaking about Christopher Nolan. And well, Inception involves a scene with 0G, and they accomplish it with no wires. No CGI. How did they do it? Well, they had different tricks for stiffening the pants. Okay, so the other day, we saw Don Petit in his underwear jumping into a pair of pants floating in space. Well, Christopher Nolan's Inception behind the scenes showed how they were able to use seesaws and counterweights to create the effect of 0G. And for the clothes, they had a special way of designing clothes. so that they wouldn't fold with gravity. And that's what Don Petit obviously had with those pants. Coyote Smoke and Mirror says the Trident missile. Ooh, that's good. Exactly. Ted Stryker says, why not call the stranded astronauts instead of sending someone? Yeah, so Butch and Suni. Stranded. They've been up there such a long time. He's growing out a beard. They were suggesting that she was starving. And we're waiting for Elon Musk to take down the ISS. I was hoping that Russia would shoot it down. But I'm not sure how it's going to end. But I think that the scheduling is Musk is going to do it in 2030. And he's going to somehow tow it down. But he's trying to instigate to get it done sooner so we can just go to Mars. And I think that's a fair projection here, because until the ISS goes down, we can't go to Mars. Because the special effects on Mars are going to be so far ahead of what they have on the ISS that until the ISS is removed, it'll be obvious. Like, they can't have a big jump in special effects without giving it away. This is why I'm really concerned for Tom Cruise's hair. How are they going to do his hair in space when he makes his movie up there? Is it going to be hair sprayed up like Suni's here? Or is he going to have it slicked? Is it going to be CGI? Braveheart says, who cares how David Blaine did it? Right, exactly. It's a magic trick, and at this point, it's kind of pathetic. It should be self-evidently real, but they have to do these magic tricks to convince us. It's like the final experiment. How hard is it to go to a different continent and take a picture and not make it look fake? But they make it look fake. Like they had to vape on camera to make it look like it was cold. I'm not saying I think they faked it, but it did seem like they tried a little too hard. And that's what I mean. They're trying too hard. You shouldn't have to be trying that hard. If you're floating in space, it should be easy. You know what would convince me? I mean, a lot of things would convince me. Certain movements they could make that they don't make. If they had an iPhone camera in the ISS and they have it recording and they just threw it from one person to the other and we could see that footage, I would believe it. But you can never see behind them. You will never see the fourth wall. And we have so many examples that undermine their credibility. It's not even a debate right now. And if you're saying it's real, you don't have enough information to say that. Our disbelief comes from a place of being highly informed. We have examples of errors where they're asking questions, they're doing interviews, and they screw up the timing on the delays. We have so many examples of glitches, errors, not to mention augmented virtual reality glitches that are just embarrassing, dropping objects. But the arguments that the Gloobers will use will be usually something like, well, if you can't tell me how they did that flip, then you must concede that they're orbiting the Earth. Like, no. Flat Earthers are just spiteful. Have you heard this one yet? There's this story that's been going viral here. Daily Mail, are you a flat earther? You're probably spiteful. People who believe in conspiracy theories are more likely to be nasty and cruel. Now, I've seen the same claim, and I've seen studies made about environmentalists being misanthropic and cruel and less likely to tip and likely to key your car. All kind of make you feel guilty for your decisions. But now they're saying that, no, it's the flat earthers are spiteful. Conspiracy theories have surged in recent years, and a 2023 survey found 1 in 3 people in the UK think conspiracies are true. And according to Stafford Fire University, conspiracy belief comes down to one key factor: spite. Spiteful psychological motives emerge when people feel at a competitive disadvantage. It's a desire to level the playing field. So you think the Earth is flat, or you don't believe in the moon landing because of spite. Here's some other pull quotes. Rather than simply being misinformed, some are responding to perceived disadvantages that make psychological sense to them. By rejecting the mainstream explanation, they attempt to reduce the gap between themselves and those they see as having an unfair advantage. So these are the root causes. Says the article highlights a perspective on why people believe conspiracy theories, saying that feelings of spite. Again, just another attempt to demonize people who are critically thinking. And this isn't about believing conspiracy theories. This doesn't apply to us, I should say. Because I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I disbelieve a lot of mainstream narratives, and I disbelieve a lot of conspiracy theories. And these things aren't always separate. In fact, there was a study, I think it said green is mean. Old study. But yeah, going green can make you mean. Science line. Green is mean and unethical. What is it? Yeah, anyway, there's plenty of examples that suggest the same thing here. That you can justify a lot of stuff. You can justify bad behavior because you're saving the planet. MAGA media admitted that Trump's agenda could cause economic mayhem. Indicators suggest that it may be happening. So this article looks head woundy to me. So I'm just pointing it out. This is one of the common things we notice here is the visual depictions of future events in symbolic ways or innuendo. So here you see a red arrow ominously going through Trump's head. I mean, how else do you explain this? This is stochastic terrorism. They are already here, says it would be interesting to know what equipment they use. Yeah, if you want to know what NASA uses, aside from the swimming pool and rear screen projection, Final Cut Pro, augmented virtual reality, I'm pretty sure they're using seesaws. The green screen is a little overstated, but it is true. They're still using it, but they're phasing it out. The new green screen are the surround LED sets, like LED screens everywhere. And those are the future. They're going to fake the moon base, and they're going to fake the Mars base with LED studios, virtual sets. They're getting rid of green screen. In fact, if you needed a green screen effect in such an environment, you just take one of the panels and make it green. So green screen's outmoded. Nobody's using green screen anymore. Except the ISS. Except these space stations. These things are just outmoded. So Trump said tomorrow night will be big. I'll tell it like it is. Again, it was a big nothing burger. Blue Ghost landed on the moon. We talked about that. March 4th, March Against Tyranny. Nothing burgers. Okay, here's the movie I referenced earlier. Last Breath, Woody Harrelson. Based on a true event of a rescue of people underwater. Reminds me of the ISS rescue that's supposed to take place. Astute observation there. Okay, I'll open up phones here. I think Deprogram Truther said that he was experiencing something psyopy. Main points today. First the ear, then the eye. Pizzagate 2025. Flat Earthers are spiteful. Reporters on ISS interviewing stranded astronauts. And this isn't news necessarily, but if you go to the shop, I'm taking a lot of items that I have on Amazon because I have an Amazon merch account. But I realize that nobody here is searching on Amazon. So I'm bringing a lot of those shirts and products over to the main shop. So you will be able to access those if you just go to the shop here. This one is the IPS metal cutout design. So it's IPS with a penguin design. And you can order it from here. You can order it from Amazon. It's coming from the same place. Sakine says, people that believe in conspiracy theories are also less likely to fall for guilt tactics. Yeah, if you're telling the truth, you shouldn't need to emotionally manipulate people. And a lot of what we get through mainstream news are marketing tactics and attempts to manipulate us through our emotions, through logical fallacies, to get us to accept a premise. And if your standard is truth, not rhetoric, logic over rhetoric, then it's never going to work on you. And they're castigating those of us who adhere to logic and skepticism over conformity. and believing emotionally charged rhetoric. Like, I'm not emotional about any of this stuff. Like, when I say I'm looking forward to Seattle getting nuked, it's not because I have some kind of, deep-seated, misanthropic hope that something terrible happens. I just know it's going to be fake. And I'm interested in how it's pulled off, because we're watching a manufactured version of events that takes control of reality and everybody believes it. And I want to see how far this thing can go. But I don't have any ill intent. I'm not even bothered by the idea. I'm not afraid of fallout or space junk. None of the stuff that keeps normies up at night bothers me at all. You won't see me wearing a space junk helmet. Art of Thinking Out Loud. Live Common Sense Analytics says Hollywood and NASA are essentially the same creative entity. Yeah, I would say so. I would almost argue that NASA, or that Hollywood, is a subset of NASA. That if NASA is, if you look at it as almost like a mind war operation in and of itself, that it's not about taking it out of space, it's about worldview warfare, and that by presenting you a view of the world and within it and all of its boundaries and everything, they're setting the stage. But I think that space might just be a metaphor for the space between your ears, and that NASA is about controlling your mind space. And so all of the movies would be a subset of this, as would the news. And this would explain the connection between NASA, Stanley Kubrick, Apollo 11, and the JFK assassination. Just as a start with Kubrick, but just those events. You're connecting events on the ground, assassination, the news on the ground, and then the space fakery. And one of the things that people who call out space fakery but don't notice the fake news on the ground miss is that it's the same production company. You can't just talk about fake news on the ground and believe everything above. Or you can't just say everything above is real, but I don't trust the stuff on the ground. It doesn't work that way. It's the same worldview warfare. So worldview warfare is the purpose of NASA, is my point. Mango Penguin says, in the movie Popeye, remember Bluto's song? I don't, but there's a new movie called Popeye that just came out. It's a horror movie. And I was looking at it. I got to find it. There's some kind of bizarre thing. Here we go. Popeye the Slayer Man. So it's a pretty bizarre looking character, but he has this grotesque scar over his right eye. I meant to watch it, though. There has to be some deeper significance here. I remember on the trailer, though, this right eye wound is just something we've been talking about, how it's represented. I mean, this idea of Trump and the head wound is not something that we've come up with. It's something that's just been projected onto the collective psyche, and we're just following it. It's pretty blatant. One of the more blatant examples is the movie Megalopolis, where Caesar survives an assassination attempt where his right eye gets shot. Joe Saunders says the gas company said they went back to the Gene Hackman house and found one burner had a 33% gas leak. Yeah, I don't know the significance of it. Sometimes accidents are just accidents, but when celebrity deaths happen, there's usually a deeper significance to it, and they throw out details that I don't think you would get if it was a real event. Like, why should I have the information that the pill bottle that was emptied out on the bathroom floor was orange? Like, should I know this if it's an investigation in progress? Same thing with any of the mass shootings. Should I be reading the person's manifesto? Should we be hearing first-hand account, eyewitness accounts of what happened from minors? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. One of the things that makes a story questionable when it comes to PSYOP analysis is, obviously the political agenda is attached to it, the poor performance of it, but also how quickly they dump the information out there. So before the end of one news segment, who did it and why, and he's either dead or he's mentally ill and you're never going to hear from him. All right, we've already had 100 messages today. And what were we talking about earlier? Oh, yes. Okay, so the Jay Leno eye wound and ear wound just has this correlation here. I'm thinking, we've been kind of noticing this stuff because of the Jurassic Liars call regarding WWE, where this character gets wounded by Travis Scott, of all people, in his ear and his eye. So what is this ear-eye thing? And the date 6/11 is highly significant to Trump's 6/11 p.m. ear wound. Like, this is precision. We're looking at a script. The cop said the wrong dog died. Yeah, there's confusion about the dog. Again, these are all facts that we shouldn't be privy to if it were real. Oh, okay, phone's open now. When I think Gene Hackman, I still think Lex Luthor. And we mentioned Lex Luthor and some potential significance to it. I mean, people obviously do die. I'm not saying celebrities don't die, but I do think that if you are part of the PSYOP entertainment complex, I think you have utility at various stages of your career, and your exit usually has some kind of, may have some kind of practical use for the big picture. And the date that he was found was 6 months, 11 days after Elvis's death date. JL talked about this the other night, about the significance of the rock with the belt with the 6/11 date hitting this guy, Cody Rhodes. I don't watch wrestling. And from what I've seen, wrestling isn't really wrestling. It's just it's like a soap opera. It's a lot of drama, but it's just so encrypted. Like, what are these people doing up there? And Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer. But, you know, if you're not really thinking about the significance of Trump faking his ear wound, you know, it might just be a blip on the radar, and you're still following the news like it's serious. But that alone should be a wake-up call to not take any of it serious. It doesn't mean it's more serious and we need to wake people up. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I know it sounds kind of fatalistic, but you can't wake up Normieville. Infinite Plane Radio.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, is this Deprogram?
Deprogram.
Awesome. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take as much time as you let me to thank you for the show, the channel. I was listening to a 7-year-old show, 5.5-hour stream, 7-year-old show of yours, and you were frustrated about losing your first and second and third channel, and I just want to thank you for everything you've done to keep this thing going. And I know everybody else does too, but I particularly thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, they had some... I don't know who he is. I don't know where he works for ultimately, but there is somebody who's highly connected to the Trump administration who was on a tear just shutting down our channels. We lost more than 150 before YouTube backed off. And they only backed off after my previous lawsuit, which isn't done yet. But yes, we've had to persevere despite real opposition. But at this point, though, I think we're good to go. I don't think there's any way we could be canceled, but I appreciate your sentiment there.
Well, I mean, I sit here every night thinking, well, you know, every time there's a glitch, it's like, damn it, the show's going to be gone, you know? But, okay, here's my situation. Nobody cares about me. I'm not in anything special, but I'm in the middle of something, and I'm just throwing it out there to get your advice and maybe other people's advice. I'm a contractor. I have to answer my phone every day. You know, I'm working and have to answer my phone. I get all kinds of phone calls, bots, whatever, people trying to sell you stuff. But I've got somebody that is calling me 6-7 times a day, the same company with the same spiel. They give the exact same line. And I kind of have a process how I deal with all these things. I'm polite at first. I ask them, please don't call me back. And then when that doesn't work, I say, hey, listen, I'm never going to buy anything from you. Please don't call me back. Until I, have to become more and more aggressive and rude. I am now at about 50 phone calls, maybe 60 phone calls from this one company, and they never stop. It's the same person almost every single time calling, and I can't figure it out. I finally got so frustrated today. I said, please explain to me why you are calling me. I have to understand. And it's got to be some kind of test or something. It just doesn't make any sense for this company to call me 50 times this week and probably 30 times last week. And I'm, just trying to get some advice.
Are you recording the calls by any chance? Is there any kind
No,
of...
but I just got a new phone. It probably wouldn't be anything for me to put a call record on there. I will. I'll do that tonight or tomorrow. I'll record a couple and I'll send them to you through email or something
I mean,
like
I
that.
would contact
But
the Attorney General's office. I've done a lot of telemarketing, and there's very specific rules. You can't call during certain hours. And if somebody says, take me off your list, and they get called again, they can be fined by the FTC a significant amount of money. You could potentially sue for infliction of emotional duress. So you shouldn't have to take that, obviously. So I hope you're at least somehow logging these calls, because especially if you've told them in no uncertain terms, do not call, put me on your list, then they're in violation of laws for sure.
Well, because I deal with this all the time in text and phone calls, just because of the business I'm in, and like I said, have to answer my phone, I kind of have a way of dealing with all of them. Kind of a little funny, jovial to begin with, but please don't call me back. And when that doesn't work, you just turn it up a little bit. I have turned it up the way you could never imagine anybody ever wanting to call you back, and they call me back, and they call me back. It's
Have
like
you?
every hour and a half they call me.
I mean, I've had telemarketers call me, and I say, yeah, really quick though, you know that the whole pandemic was fake and the earth is flat. And when I start telling them that stuff, they hang up on me.
Well, I kind of use a similar technique when I'm dealing with bots. The first thing I ask a bot is, are you a real person? And so, they immediately lie and tell you they're real. So I start asking them, what's their middle name? You got a boyfriend? Stuff like that. It is hilarious, some of the answers you'll get from bots. It's hilarious. And it's just kind of a waste 10 minutes or 5 minutes of my time, kind of thing. No big deal. But this is different. This is something intentional, and I don't understand it.
That is
I'm gonna record it.
Yeah, that is really alarming. I get this thing on X where every time I make a post or I reply to somebody's comment, I get an instant like, and every instant like is a chat bot that's selling some kind of adult webcam model. But I'm getting these consistently, and I looked into it, and some people say that I've likely been targeted with an operation in order to flag all of my posts and get them minimized, because now I have spam bots associated with every reply, and it'll get me shadow banned. So that could be a way of suppressing my channel. I'm not sure, but yeah, these bots are a problem.
Yeah, the bots I don't really care about. The text messages, that you get constantly all day. My response to them is, sure, is there anything else I can help you with? Would you like my mom's maiden name? How about a social security number? Is that helpful? Just playful, because I don't care. And usually it's nothing. That's the end of it. But this is crazy. So I'll record a couple and I'll send you an email.
Yeah, that is crazy, and you have to protect your sanity. You can be provoked. That is a thing. And I've actually stopped taking calls. It's almost been like, honestly, it sounds crazy, but it's been like 10 years. I do not have a ringer. I do not reflexively respond when an object chirps at me. I haven't answered a phone call in a long time. Unless I'm in live like this, I don't take calls in my real life.
And most of the people I have in my life are the same way. They laugh at me like, why do you answer the phone call? I'm like, I don't have a choice. Here's the thing. I'm working. I've got headphones on. Something's in front of me. My phone is not. So I can't let the phone ring and go to voicemail. It's got to be answered. And so, and it doesn't matter because they use number generators. Heck, they even give names of businesses that I would recognize, like Spectrum. It'll come up and say Spectrum. It'll come up and say Honeywell. It'll come up and say something, and it's a different number every time, different business name every time.
Oh, yes.
Same person every
It's
time.
clever. It's clever. They're getting clever. For example, they'll have your zip code, and that is true. It's almost like gang stalking, but it's coming from Skynet.
Yeah, I hesitated to say anything like that because then you sound like you're nuts. And nobody cares about me. I'm not that guy. I'm not out there in the middle of anything. I'm not on social media. Other than listening to your show religiously, that's about the extent of it. And so, like I said, nobody's trying to do this to me. It's got to be something that they're doing to certain people just to see what the response is, to see how long they'll take it before they just lose their mind, I guess.
That's interesting. No, you're onto something here. It's almost like some kind of, like the Milgram experiment. It's some kind of experiment like we're being subjected to. And who knows, they're testing boundaries. But, like I said, I reached my limit. I realized that when the phone rings, it triggered a response in me. And it's an involuntary response that I was reacting. And so I try not to react anymore to anything. I say respond, don't react. If the news says Seattle just got nuked, I'm not going to react. I'm going to get information. That's my response. But yeah, as far as your phone situation, yeah, I hope you can get some more intel, because you have to be proactive. I've been proactive anytime I've been stalked. I know everything about my stalkers. In fact, one of my stalkers, I just learned one of his new aliases today because one of his email addresses showed up in a search. So you have to kind of know who's looking into you.
All right. Well, that's all I got, Tim. Listen, you're the best, man. I'm so happy that I came back and found you after Flat Earth and after getting out of that probably about 7 years ago, something like that, and moving away from that, where I met you, or not met you, but, found you. Then I don't know what it was, probably 2 or 2.5 years later, I came across you again, and I've not missed a show since. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for calling in. And yeah, there's so many people who we don't hear from, but are always there in the chat. And this has always been a chat, think tank oriented show. So thank you for calling. And yeah, I hope you can figure out what's going on with that. But yeah, right. Best of luck.
I'll let you know. And I'm going to go back and look at the chat. Hopefully somebody's got some advice or some input I'd like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And, possibly he ends up a recipient of a class action thing. I used to be a telemarketer, and I've done cold calls, warm calls, customer retention. And yes, it's stressful. Not so stressful that, we go out back and choreograph, dances like nurses did in 2020. Remember hearing that? Or like, all these nurses and doctors are just dancing in the hallways and posting it on TikTok, and people would say it's because they're so stressed out that they have to dance it out. It's like, I've been pretty stressed, and I've never danced it out with my coworkers. Mizelle says, I worked in a call center, so I loathe talking on the phone. I don't react to it either. I had my limit. I realized that the phone gave too many people access to me. I was constantly changing my phone number. And I thought, okay, this is becoming a habit, changing my number, dodging people. So I just had a new policy where I will call back. There's no emergency so great that I have to answer immediately. If it's that big of an emergency, call 911. But I like taking calls here. I take all the calls I possibly can live. Isn't it strange? It's like I'd rather talk to strangers than people I know. Nothing against people that I know, but we're having discourse, philosophic discourse that you can't really get anywhere else. I used to talk about the subjects like of synchronicity, these subjects that interested me a long time ago, and I could never find anybody that really knew what I was talking about. And it always makes you feel like the weird one, like, oh, I'm odd, I'm unusual, I'm an alien. But no, actually, a lot of people care and think about these things, but we're just scattered. So this think tank has always been an oasis for those who have come across certain ideas and have certain common denominators when it comes to our perception of mainstream media and what it does to people. Check this out. This is presumably a lefty with a voodoo doll of Donald Trump just going total stabby on it.
Because I'm so pissed off with all the news stories that I got. I made it so so he'll get sick and fucking die. I hate.
All right, so there she is, stabbing a voodoo doll of Donald Trump. Trump derangement syndrome. So this person is responding to what? The constant needling of the media. Throwing this guy in your face. This guy rules over you. This is what he said. He's a heel. He's a heel. He's designed to trigger the other side. And this is how it works. Obama, Clinton, they trigger the right. Bill Gates scares the right. Trump triggers the left. Musk scares the left. But we're the conspiracy theorists, right? We're the problem. We're the spiteful ones. Oh yeah, we don't trust NASA. We don't trust the news out of spite. You're not going to see me with the voodoo doll, venting on TikTok. Mike Kim tweeted at me, Marshall McLuhan had said, radio is a hot medium, video is cool. Hot means more directly programs you. Now, this is insightful because he said this in response to my post about first the ear, then the eye. In other words, this could be some kind of reference to the programming. First radio, and then getting you used to hearing lies, and then the more visual lies going through the eye directly. We were talking about the symbolism of the mask and how it correlates with censorship and the mind virus and the spoken word that spreads the virus, that the contents of your mind are now infectious, or they lead to infections because of the medical misinformation. And so that was one symbol of censorship. And right before 2020, you had that movie Bird Box. And in Bird Box, with Sandra Bullock, you had this world where there was a plague and people had to wear blindfolds. And if you saw somebody without a blindfold, you had to run. Because if you made eye contact, you would catch what they had. So it's like this madness that transmits in this new way. And this was right before the masks became, of course, mandatory. So you have the masks, you have the mouth cover for the eyes, and the other mouth coverings. And then I mentioned the movie Hot Skull, the series Hot Skull, last time we were here. And in that one, it's about mind viruses that you hear, and so you have to wear earplugs. So it's like it's this interesting thing we've been noting here, just this depiction of how this evil is transmitted through the ears, through the eyes, or it's spoken. Oh, that new t-shirt. Oh yeah, by the way, if you go to my Twitter account, I have a shop up here. We have IPS Cyborg, and we have IPS, or Infinite Plane Radio, a Cyborg with Boombox. But anyway, if you go to my Twitter account and you click at the very top, you will actually see Amazon links where you can order these things. And some of these shirts aren't new. I've made some new ones, but they've been here for some time, but now I'm putting them on our main store for your convenience. Lane Dion says, Musk promoted a tweet in support of Derek Chauvin recently. I'll have to look at that. Derek Chauvin's an interesting character. Derek, Western chauvinism, Proud Boys, the Western chauvinists, and how I think it's notable how you have so many anti-cop types, the ones who say, if you get pulled over, this is what you say. Don't trust the cops are your oppressors. All the anti-cop people are anti-BLM, so by default, they side with Derek Chauvin. It's kind of inescapable here. If you take any side, if you take an anti-position, you're in the side war. But now, the name Derek Chauvin is interesting from a world stage perspective, because the first name, Derek, it first, I think, became famous or associated with the hangman. Derek was a name that means, essentially, it's part of a crane is referred to as a derrick. But there was a Derek who historically hung 3,000 people. And he innovated something when it comes to the gallows. So you have Derek, and then Western chauvinism, or Derek Chauvin, again, on the side of the Proud Boys, representing the West, versus BLM, which is global, international communism, Marxism. So Derek Chauvinism represents the hangman of the West. And Derek Chauvin was asphyxiated. I can't breathe. 846. And of course, that has significant connections to the setting of the sun, 846 that day. 9/11 kicks off at 846. The 9/11 connections to the Derek Chauvin George Floyd event are pretty extensive. Elon Musk doubles down on plea for Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, and Ben Shapiro launches the effort to pardon Derek Chauvin. Now, this is a major guardrail here. So the left wing says George Floyd was killed by systemic racism, and Derek Chauvin was just an instrument of this. The right wing says Derek Chauvin didn't do anything because George Floyd died from fentanyl overdose, which is the fault of Biden and open borders. So the right wing leans on Derek Chauvin didn't kill him and therefore should go free. But they don't disagree on the central premise that George Floyd died and died under those circumstances. So it's notable here that both sides agree he died, but they disagree on how. And this is a common theme. They get you debating on the how and not the what. But for Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk to double down on it, yeah, this is very consistent. Derek Chauvin, like Daniel Penny, would be considered a right-wing hero. Like he was saving the public from George Floyd, who put a gun against a pregnant woman's belly, home invasions, criminal background, counterfeit money. Now, what they don't tell you is that Derek Chauvin and George Floyd worked together at the same nightclub. That there was an account by a coworker of theirs that described how they fought over a check once, but that they knew each other. They worked together for 17 years, was it? Or 7 years? For years, they worked together at a nightclub. And so when he says, I can't breathe, I'm thinking, why isn't he saying, hey, Derek, get off my neck? What are you doing? Because they knew each other. And all these stories were effaced and buried. George Floyd and Derek Chauvin worked security at the same time in the same club. They were co-workers. The pair knew each other. They even clashed before. They had friction at night as nightclub security guards. The Derek Chauvin, George Floyd relationship explained. George Floyd and the officer who knelt on his neck worked at the same nightclub, the former owner said. And Derek Chauvin's neighbors didn't know he was a cop. They thought he was in real estate because he had a couple homes. They worked at El Nuevo Rodeo. Anyway, that is another element here to it. And if you look at the whole video, none of it adds up. But no, we've done enough here, enough analysis on this when it comes to the event itself, that it was all just a highly charged, scripted event designed to serve as a pretext for riots, for civil unrest. And Jordan Peele said that the Derek Chauvin spectacle was the inspiration for Nope, about the spectacle of the UFO and the raging chimp that killed all those people. If you haven't seen Nope, it's kind of a must-watch. But Jordan Peele said it was inspired by the George Floyd event, which is very significant when you compare the George Floyd event to the Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely event. I would even say the name Jordan Neely might be a reference to the kneeling death of Floyd. But the death of Jordan Neely at the hands of Daniel Penny, obvious psyop, has a lot of connections to a Jordan Peele movie called Get Out. Infinite Plane Radio.
So Miss Carter thinking out loud, Cincinnati.
Hey, good to hear from you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah. I was just checking out the show tonight, and I wanted to, I had been like, you know, in the chat, like, and everything, but I wanted to ask, had you heard like anything about what's been going on, like maybe like around this area, Cincinnati?
Not lately, although, I mean, Ohio has been an epicenter of a lot of psyops with Trump and Vance and just 42 miles from Butler. But no, what is happening there now?
Okay, recently we had where there were some white supremacists standing on an overpass, and they had weapons and signs or whatever, but it made like a lot of attention. You know, it drew out like a couple groups here came to confront them and everything, and the police came out, all of that. But I had a couple questions because it didn't make sense to me. Okay, for one, most groups, like organizations, they're identifiable. You know, you could pretty much tell who they are, or they'll claim wherever they're at. Like, you know, if somebody does something in whatever city, if there's like a clash in whatever city, um, whatever organization will say, well, this was the so and so chapter of this supremacist group, whatever. You could tell who it is. I don't know who these folks are. There isn't any information on it. And it's a lot going on, like around it, where the police had them on camera walking past before they got to the overpass. And it's just, I don't know. It to me, it screams psyop.
You know what? It sounds like a rent-a-mob. It says here, it says, Ohio's home to 50 white extremist groups. Hate will not win here. Lincoln Heights. Okay, I have seen images of this. Residents in Cincinnati confront white supremacist demonstrators. And I find it unusual that they're all as unidentifiable as Antifa, with the masks, the matching
Yeah.
uniforms. It's like, who's paying for their flags? And they're very well organized. You know, it looks like, for the most part, when I look at these individuals like Patriot Front and Proud Boys, and the Proud Boys leader was a federal informant. So I happen to think that these are all government plants and instigators. I don't think these are organic at all.
And that's the same thing I was thinking, because it's like, I'm gonna tell you, they they showed up out of nowhere. They showed up out of nowhere, and this happened, like, you know, they stood on the overpass or whatever, and it drew some attention, and that's when the people from the neighborhood, as well as other organizations. But my thing is, now they're milking this out into something big. Now you got ministers coming together, and they're having all kind of talks about, you know. To me, what it looks like is whatever this particular psyop was set up for. I can see where the so-called black ministers or whatever are using it to gain, television airtime. It's going to cost funding. It's going to bring attention here. It's just, man, I see so much happening like around here. Like, okay, here's another situation that we had recently. One of our major bridges was burned. You can look it up. One of our major bridges was burned, and they caught and convicted 4 people. I think it was like 2 girls, 2 guys, 2 white girls, 2 white guys. And they said, they set this fire under the bridge or whatever. Tim, I'm telling you this. If you go and pull up that footage of the bridge and the fire, look, for somebody to set that fire, you would have to have certain types of, you're not going to burn this bridge with just some lighter fluid.
Now, is this the Daniel Carter, the Big Mac Bridge?
Yes.
Okay, burned on
Yes.
November 1st. November 1st is a major holiday. So May Day and November 1st are 2 of the major holidays on the pagan calendar. That's interesting. And yeah, something like that. You're like, this has got to be controlled demolition. This isn't just somebody with a little fire shutting down this big thing.
And the thing is, when I saw it, like I said, I woke up that morning and I caught the news like early in the morning when it was going on, and they were like showing it live. I'm looking at the flames jumping up around this bridge, and I'm like, what kind of accelerant or whatever did they use? Because this isn't something that just civilians would have. And when you see the people and you look into the folks' backgrounds who did it, it's sketchy.
Interesting.
It's sketchy because it's like you have like 4 people that like how can I put it? Their backgrounds don't match what happened.
Okay, this reminds me. Do you remember in 2020 there were a series of 5G towers that were burning across the UK and America and Canada, and the news said conspiracy theorists were burning 5G towers. Well, they finally arrested somebody because nobody was taking credit for it. And it was like these two people, and all you saw were their mugshots. They weren't even mugshots. You saw their model profiles from Model Mayhem, which is the site where models register themselves. So you have these two supposed models burning 5G towers, but they have no footprints as conspiracy theorists. You can't find them on social media. It's like they were just pulled out of a drawer. So if these characters don't add up, they're probably just actors or patsies, and it's some controlled demo. I had to look into this bridge thing, but the imagery looks a little psyopy.
And that's the thing. It's like I've been noticing, like I said, I've just been noticing like a lot locally. But, you know, when I look at, like I said, with like listening to you as well as checking out a few other channels, just hearing what's going on around and looking at different perspectives, it's like all of this now is just one big Netflix feature. It's not even to where we have to go back and look at things and say, oh, well, this correlates with this or whatever. No, it's just laid out now.
It really is. We're no longer like conspiracy theorists trying to figure it out. We're actually studying something that we know now is engineered to be this way.
Yeah, we're analysts now.
Yeah, and
we're analysts.
That's what we're doing, and we're approaching this thing in a very methodical way, and we're able to make predictions consistently. And these alignments are beyond coincidence. You know, it's beyond cherry picking. It's intelligent design, but it's done by government-controlled media. It's all co-opted. We live on planet Netflix.
Yeah, without a doubt. And something I was gonna ask you. Okay, with the ISS. Now, I was thinking this. Okay, you know they've had to, maintain this whole psyop with it for the longest, and they've got to figure how to get it down. I was thinking, like, you would kind of wonder that the public would have, by this point, caught on to everything, but people for some reason still believe that, this thing is up there. And even though, like you said, we've had reporters go up there, we've had all kind of stuff like that happen, but for some reason, cognitive dissonance, people they still can't put it all together. I was thinking that I don't think they're going to so much try to bring it down, like in the sense that we may think that they're going to like crash it with. I think what they're going to try to do is they're going to first lead with maybe some type of movie, and where the movie's going to show like something happening where they're going to get the people off of the ISS, and then they're going to use the ISS to maybe go. They're going to find a way to get rid of it where it doesn't have to come to Earth. Maybe say it went into deep space, some type of asteroid, something we could never confirm here, that they could just project in the sky.
Right. And well, they've done this recently.
Yeah,
they had this like space junk from Elon Musk, and they said that planes were being diverted, and it was viewed across Australia. So it wouldn't be hard for them to create the idea of this thing falling apart where we don't actually have any way to verify it.
See, and that's why I was thinking, like, at first I was thinking, okay, they're going to maybe bring something, they're going to like shoot something up and then make it appear as if it's coming down. I'm like, but why do all of that when you can just they can lead with like some type of series, some type of movie, whatever. And they could, like I said, predictive programming, have the public already kind of in the mind frame for it. And then when they say something happens, they've already gotten everybody off of it. And then they're gonna say like you said, space junk, some type of asteroid, whatever, hit it and destroyed it. And that way they won't even have to come up with like any type of story about it coming down to earth or anything. They could get rid of it because they know how you gonna, because it's like I've been telling people for the longest. It's like when they came up with this stuff, it's like this is like the difference between a phonograph and laser disc and like MP3. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like everything has changed. So it's like, how do you go back and you undo something that was primitive back then? Like, how do you make somebody in the modern times believe something that was constructed when people didn't have certain things that we have right now, like the internet?
Like lose the telemetry data to the moon. I think that you have a point here. And I think what they're doing is they're disposing of a crime scene. They're covering up a massive fraud of hundreds of billions of dollars. How much money went into this fraud? And they're just going to incinerate the evidence just like that.
Yep, easiest way to do it.
Well, you know, they claim that they drop all the used satellites at the place they call the pole of inaccessibility, which is like the remotest place from habitation, and it's out in the middle of the ocean. And coincidentally, that's where Jules Verne puts 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and that's where H.P. Lovecraft claims that the old ones fell, and that their dead city is at the bottom of the ocean there. But anyway, they always have it out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and see, and it's like I said, I think right now, like I said, the easiest thing to do, rather than to go through spending all the money on trying to get like Elon to come up with some type of way to fake it or whatever, spending like a bunch of money that they don't have to, just spend less money and give a little spin story.
Yeah, you know, if they just stop boosting it, because supposedly it stays up because it's given these periodic boosters from the supply modules. If they stop doing that, it would go into decay and it would fall. But I think the reason they want Musk to do it is they want to make it fall somewhere safe, like in the middle of the ocean. But yeah, they're offering him $843 million. But yeah, I think it's all theater at this point. But he's asking to do it soon, and the public has been conditioned to expect it. And space junk wasn't really even a thing until like 5 years ago. And now everybody believes in it.
You know what? I thought about something I wanted to ask you. With Elon, okay, you know that even though he's the big figurehead, you know he doesn't have access to like any of his companies. Like as far as the real dealings of the companies, like they're like highest boards of the companies or certain access, like as far as SpaceX, Neuralink, all of that. He doesn't have like the top tier access.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised about that he doesn't have the security clearance when it comes to the higher echelons of SpaceX. That makes me wonder, is he just a figurehead? Is he the front man for an organization?
Okay, what it made me think about was this. Remember the interview with, I think it was like a babysitter or something of his, like a nanny, and she talked about just how he was, like as far as when he was younger, just how he got into things and just the type of things he did. And she made a comment about, was he the Antichrist? And his mother laughed and said, no, but he's making a way for the one who is.
Wow.
And what that just kind of put me in the mind of is that if Elon is being used as the figurehead, we know that, it's a lot of big corporation figures that are running things in the back that a lot of folks will never know because they keep a lot of those things just hidden in different in different companies that's buried in other companies that's buried in other companies. So you never really know who's doing what. But it's like, I believe that like all of that just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of correlated with me when she said that, when I thought about when she said that, and then just seeing how he's the like we said, the figurehead to all of these different companies, these different companies that do that that have so much access that other people wouldn't. It's like he's still not the one that's actually running things.
Right, right. And he's a pitchman for so much, from Neuralink to X to the space program itself. And the space program is a religious endeavor. You know, beyond that, I mean,
Yeah.
he's, and I think it's also significant that X, the company X, I think that he, and I said this in 2017 in an article, I said that part of his characterization is Emperor Constantine, who had a vision of a glowing cross and then sought to unite the empire under it. And when Musk put the glowing X on the Twitter building, I said, this is him becoming Constantine, uniting the empire under this sign, the Everything app. And uniting the empire as in the agenda here is uniting all media in a singular world view. And he's a huge part of that with the space program and with X.
See, and I think I think that like a lot of it too, that like we don't think a lot of is the fact that this man is standing next to Donald Trump, the president. It's like, as much as we pick fun and we make memes and we don't think much of it, or we laugh, oh, Donald Trump and Elon, it's really more serious than we know, because you have two nuts, two world stage nuts, like who can basically play with all of our lives through like our perception on the highest level.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. I mean, the fact that Musk was there with him 84 days after Trump was shot, and he's all part of this world stage theater. We have two magicians, two psyop magicians on the world stage in the highest positions of power, and all the world is just reacting to them. And most of the world reacting aren't apprised of how these individuals are constructs of an entirely different form of governance. It is it's easy to laugh at them and downplay it, but the truth of it is, no, this is way more sophisticated than a couple of goofballs or meme lords.
I know what I wanted to ask you too. Did you see the video of Trump Gaza?
Yes, that was pretty catchy.
You know, you know what? Did you catch the dancers with the beards?
I didn't catch that, but what about it?
He had, okay, because they let AI do it, some AI program do it. Okay, so the program keeps showing like Elon eating different stuff and everything, and it's showing Trump, on the beach and all of that. But there's a scene where it's showing like belly dancers, but the belly dancers all have full beards. The transgender belly dancers.
I didn't catch that, but that's AI. Okay.
And the thing is, I'm gonna tell you something. It's crazy because I don't think most people who looked at it, I don't think people even have looked at it for real. But it's like I just happened to catch it on another channel. Somebody else was talking about it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is it. That's the reason I said we now have two nuts who can make. Okay, put it like this: Trump and Elon are making it seem like just them being together. This is like a Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
But they're playing with the world through the world stage.
Yeah, that is bizarre. It says here, Trump's bizarre Gaza AI video interacting with bearded belly dancers and a golden balloon in the shape of Trump's head. Yeah, this is surreal. The world stage theater has turned surreal. AI is now part of the process, and it is a form of surrealism. And I don't know if it's intentional, but it certainly isn't helping the situation. And we're
You know what
acclimated to
else
it.
I noticed too?
Yeah.
At the end of that video, there's a big giant gold Donald Trump statue. And I've just been noticing that there are a lot of different statues going up of different people. Everybody is getting golden statues.
Didn't
Just regular celebrities.
Okay, and I see the gold statue here. In fact, in that music video for One Eye Jack's song "Dawn of the New Day," I had a golden Donald Trump statue. Didn't Kid Cudi, is that his name? He had a 33-foot statue of himself. I don't know if it was gold.
Yes, yes. He did, and Drake did too.
Right, right, right. Well, this is insane. I mean, this is really insane. This is surrealistic stuff. This AI is just so creepy. But yeah, this went extremely viral, and it's just funny how that didn't people didn't notice it. Like this is like we're so used to the stuff being so strange and so weird. It almost just gets a pass. It's like sensory overload.
Exactly. See, and that's exactly where I was going when I said that we now have two people sitting in the cockpit because Elon he just like, you know what I'm saying, invited himself, or he got invited like along. And it's like, we're looking at what, like I said, they've made themselves a meme because they know that the public perceives them as a meme, and with them being two actors, they're playing into it. And we're not taking it serious. Meanwhile, they're doing stuff like with different countries. You know, they're like starting stuff with different countries and, you know, doing other things. It's like, it's wild how they can have you looking in, you know, one direction at something, laughing while other matters are going on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's so unserious. They make everything so unserious, but then we're supposed to take it very seriously. Like these two individuals are saving the world, and Musk is going to save us by taking us to Mars. So he's kind of a savior in that sense, protect us from global warming.
Have you noticed all the portals popping up in different advertising and different movies?
I haven't yet, but portals. No, go on.
Okay, like like the, you know, the portals like in the movie Stargate.
Sure,
It's
sure.
like, okay, I've been seeing like Disney advertisements where they'll have like a little girl run through like a Stargate, and you know she'll have an adventure. But I've also been seeing like in a lot of movies, like a lot of series, or just in different children's cartoons, everything now is talking about portals.
No, I haven't seen that, but that is interesting to note because whenever there's some big theme that's repeated, it means something. They're building towards something. And for some time, I've noticed there's a lot of talk about wormholes, and I wonder, are they going to start using Hyperloop to simulate space travel and perhaps incorporate the idea of portals that we've been educated on through entertainment to explain the fast transit to distant planets? Because our traditional way of space travel is, oh, we got to go this route. It's going to take this many years, a generational shift. But if you have a wormhole or a portal, yeah, you just go through it, just like in that movie They Live. You just go to Mars in a heartbeat.
Okay, what do you think about like all of the talk about like Tartaria and different and 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 there now being like a lot of, there have like always been discoveries of different like underground cities or whatever, but it's like right now that's like a real big talk.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a lot of conjecture that is kind of misguided, but I think there's something there overall in this theme. And the idea of like buried history is real. The question is, are we talking about physically burying something with a flood, or are they burying it with like a mental mud flood, which is what I think is happening every day anyway. But the idea that we have gone through a reset and our history's been completely distorted. Well, yeah, if we don't trust our news, if our news lies, and if history is lies agreed upon, as Napoleon said, then it's pretty safe to say that the pattern that we see with media today has always existed. So we're kind of like, it's history fluid. It may as well be mud flooded.
And you know what? And that's the same thing I was thinking. I was thinking that it's kind of a combination of both. I believe that, you know, of course, there was like a lot more going on before us being here, because, like I said, you could look at the structures of the different buildings and like cathedrals and the artwork and everything. So it's like, for me, it's more just common sense. It's like, I don't know the whole story, but it's like, I see enough to know that it's worth looking into. But on the other side of it, like you said, not only has it been a physical covering of things, we've also always had, you know, the church, we've had the education system, we've had our mainstream media, regardless of like what it was at the time, it was still mainstream media. So they were always still repurposing the story and making it something else.
Yes, it's a reoccurring theme. And it makes sense to me when I look at the symbolism of the reset, the idea of precession of ages and destroying the old age, building back the new, the symbol of the phoenix, it's revolutionary. And I think that the powers that be, who or whatever they are, have an MO. And the MO is maintaining a power disparity by keeping the people below the capstone level ignorant. And how do you do it? You periodically burn the books. You kill the intellectuals. You erase their histories. You distort time and space. And you keep people discombobulated. And I think that is being done actively. I think it's always been done. So I think the Tartaria stuff, yeah, a lot of it gets misguided because they think they found evidence and they're, but whatever it is, I think the skepticism is definitely valid. And I am highly critical of our history. And I think it's important to keep in mind that we cannot take it on faith. You know, we have to be skeptical.
Yeah, the thing is, I was thinking that it's like, you know, we know how this goes. It's like, there's always truth. Yet I think that what they do is, like you said, they give us an overload. Because I always think back to when the Clintons, you know, before the internet hit everybody's household, when, you know, Bill Clinton was saying that, you know, he didn't think it would be a good idea if they let if this goes through and we have a computer in every house. And he was right, because now that we have a computer in every house, in every hand, now you can question everything, and it now makes it to where the once more unquestionable narrative, now you have nothing but questions because you have more access to information.
Yes, and we're in this place where we have so much information, but we don't have context that connects it to any sort of objective reality, so it's become irrelevant. Somebody can tell me, factually speaking, that Trump faked his assassination attempt, but if they can't ground that in objective reality, it means nothing. If they can't explain to me the deeper implications, and so the framework's not there. The sea of irrelevance is such a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, that's the reason I see it. Like, just with them, they give us so much. It's like, you know, like I said, it's not even at a point where we have to figure anything out. They put it right in our faces, because if they keep putting so much in our faces, we see something Monday, we forget it like early Tuesday morning because something else has happened. And we won't take it serious anyway because it happens so much every day. Like you said, with the bearded ladies on the beach, most people didn't even catch it because it's something that we see every day. We're always watching memes, or we're always seeing things. So it's like now, you know, your perception has been more, you know, guided toward just more of an acceptance, and it just rolls right right past it. And that's the way the information is. It's so much that comes. Some of it's good. You know it. A lot of it is a lot of BS, and it all gets mixed in together. You have no filter.
Exactly. It's I call it. I say that like our age today is psychedelic. You don't need acid because what acid does, LSD, is it obliterates the ego filter, which limits the amount of information you take in, so you can have a coherent view of the world. But if you get rid of that filter, then you have the psychedelic experience. And I think that we've been inundated with so much information, so much media, so many images, and so much of it is just incoherent and surrealistic. It's like this. It's like almost an assault on our senses. But I think it's designed to dull our responses to things that are truly abnormal or truly irrational.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, it's just I'm just looking at now. Like I said, we're getting hit with this whole information overload, and I think that that's what's like. It's kind of okay. I'll put it like this: this whole woke movement thing. I think when they saw just with having access to the information, instead of trying to suppress information and suppress certain things, why not just hit people with just so much of it? Like I said, you have no discernment, and you hit people with a lot of BS and memes mixed in with it too. A lot of clickbait. So it's like, so now your reality, we now live in what I like to call a clickbait reality, because it can be one thing 1 minute. 1 minute you're looking at drones flying over everywhere, and the next minute you're looking at fires going off in California, and the next minute it's like you're looking at weather patterns changing in a certain part of the country, and the next minute it's the Grammys, and
Right.
then you've basically forgotten about everything else. Even things that were supposed to be big events, they got mixed in with stuff like the Grammys, Kendrick Lamar and the halftime show, everything like that. All of this mixed in together. Your reality is now you pick and choose what's important to you. If Kendrick is more important than the fires, then hey, so be it.
Yeah, exactly. How is it even possible that we give equal time and attention to the Grammys as to this big tragedy? And then what determines
Right.
the value? And what determines the value is the media. They decide. They decide what. And one point I want to make here, because people who are critical of media skepticism will say, "Well, you guys are immersed in this stuff," and I say the difference is we're not reacting to all this crazy stuff. We're responding to it,
Right.
and we're observing people reacting, but we're not the reactors here, and so it doesn't affect us
Mm-hmm.
negatively. But we're watching all these moral panics, we're watching hypes and fads and trends, and yeah, people are very reactive, and that is where they want you, off base, reacting to every one of their provocations. Meanwhile, we're just observing the provocations and the provoked.
And something else I've noticed that's been happening through like music. Now we have what they're calling the crash out culture. That's where you have all of these uh TV shows with the girls fighting like baddies that started as the Bad Girls Club, and now you just have a bunch of different reality shows with like people fighting. What I liken that onto is this: it's not so much that we have a bunch of shows with women fighting, with like gay men fighting, with different other people fighting. People just see it as kind of like a minstrel show. What I see it as is like an experiment as to see how far you can push people that you have contained within certain. They put these people in a house, and you come up with you put a bunch of volatile people together. You have them partying, drinking, intoxicated, And they also have like psychologists and stuff that are digging into these people's personal lives, and they bring stuff up on the show, so they start fighting. This is like an experiment in front of everybody, but people don't see the experiment. They're trying to drive people. If you can drive this contained house of people mad through, misogynistic type of influences, as well as alcohol and the different disputes going on in the house, then what happens when you show this to a wider audience and you have these same type of people in society? Now it becomes like a mind virus. You infect more people in society, and then you have, and like I said, you now have a never-ending supply of crash out people that want to come on TV and fight and do all types of things. It's because, like I said, like I see in the chat, somebody said it's like a whole dopamine reality.
Yeah, it is. I started using the phrase digital crack dealers to describe channels that are just feeding people a daily dose to get the clicks, to get the engagement, and nothing ever changes. Q Street, all the people into QAnon never organized to fight the New World Order. They just became addicted to the daily hit, the daily outrage, the daily connection, meme, or prophecy, but it never goes anywhere. They've been totally nullified.
Because you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. That's just like on Facebook. On Facebook, I've got like almost like 150,000 followers, and I did most of that off of just resharing like reels. I'll give like a commentary on different things. Some of the stuff is just, most of it is just stuff that you hear that's like trending. But the whole purpose is to get the conversation started so that I can start some discernment with people. And it's like the one thing I've noticed is this: when the whole conspiracy theorist thing, like when people started throwing all of us in the whole pot of being, conspiracy theorists, I pretty much ran with it for a while because I wanted to see just how far they could push this whole conspiracy theorist label before they see that, some of us are different. Some of us don't believe everything, and we're not, like you said, out here reacting to it. Where we watch and we analyze and we talk about like discrepancies as well as questions. So it's not even a thing of that we're theorists to it. No, we analyze it. But what I think they've done is they've turned the rest of our society into like fake woke conspiracy theorists, as to where now this is an everyday term for the everyday person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the main splits here I noticed is that you've got the false awakening. So the woke are falsely awakened to what they see as the major system in the world that's suppressing them, and then the truthers are awakened to what they think is the deep state controlling everything. And both these versions are the fringe. If you really dig deep, you wake up, and this is your awakening. And neither of them are awake. They're just at a deeper level of propaganda. In fact, they're deeper into the program.
See, like I said, I think all of that was part of it. Is to if you pollute the waters, like I said, when it was just a room full of us, tinfoil hatters, like it used to be just a room full of us, pretty much. Like folks, they didn't want to like really associate with us, so they knew who we were. Now, what you do, you open up all the floodgates, and you make it pretty much to where it's cool to question everything. Like you start making it, like I said, when they made this whole woke term and they started capitalizing off of it and making it mainstream, and they just put that label on the people, because nobody ever called themselves woke, like just in the sense of, yeah, I'm amongst a group of people who consider themselves woke. No, somebody just said it as like, Like, man, look, everybody else sleep, man. You know, the rest of us are woke to what's going on or whatever. And people ran with it. And this is why I say they now have us in a situation where it's so convoluted and polluted out here that it's like the average person who believes all of the BS, like whatever they're told, as well as the fake conspiracy theories and everything else, they think they're doing what me and you are doing.
Yes.
So nobody takes so it makes other people not take everything as serious. It makes us all sound cartoonish once again.
Absolutely. And that's why I think what we've done and we have to continue to do is we've raised the bar. Like, we're not the anti to whatever the mainstream promotes, because that's what Truth Reveal has become. And I said we have to be anti the anti as well as anti the pro, because anytime you take sides with that anti position, you're lumped in with all these other people who don't exercise discernment on every issue.
Right.
So we have to separate what we're doing from alt media. We are a separate entity, a separate body. And that's really what this think tank has become. We are an oasis separate from this area that's been totally oversaturated, like you said, by design. It's by design. It's to drown out any truth in a lot of misinformation and, semi-truth.
Without a doubt, man. Like I said, I called in tonight because I thought about all the other times I called before, and it's like, man, you inspired me to go and just look deeper into like a lot of things and to just look at media in a different way. It's like, because I catch like a lot of perspectives and everything, and it's like I think back to when I first came across the channel, and when we were talking about just how you had so many channels shut down and you're still here now. Like I said, man, it should be a documentary made about you.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we need to we need to have a record of everything, and it will all be exposed eventually. But you've been a long time caller. I always appreciate your commentary and the we are seriously thinking about this stuff. And your channel, for people who don't know, is Art of Thinking Out Loud, Live Common Sense Analytics.
Yeah, I got to start putting some content on there, man. I've been doing so much other stuff that it's like, I haven't been like uploading onto there, but it's like I have a lot of videos I've done. I just need to start uploading them. But I'm gonna go live tomorrow, so, and I'll definitely be in the chat tomorrow too.
Okay, absolutely. And send, if you can, post a link to your channel below. And I want to create a list of links of callers, because every caller is essentially like an IPR reporter, because we're getting reports from the off-world stage perspective. And I want a list of every regular caller or any caller with a channel to put into the Insider as like a listing. So, definitely stay in touch, and I appreciate you calling again. And, call back anytime. It should be an interesting year, and I think Ohio is going to be center stage for quite a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'll keep you posted on what's going on around here, without a doubt, man.
All right, good to hear from you. Thank you for the call.
All right, take it easy.
All right, Art of Thinking Out Loud. Longtime caller and listener. Always interesting calls, too. I need to go back. I mean, there's so much content. There's so little time to organize it. I'm hoping I can leverage AI to do this, but you can. I've already seen ways to do this where it'll analyze the transcripts and and pull out certain sections, highlight sections. Substack does this where after I upload a video to Substack, it will automatically break down clips, like 2 minutes, and it'll give me a transcript and a subject. If it determines that I made a point within like 2 minutes, it'll give me clips. But I want to go back to all these calls and various callers, especially long calls where we cover a lot of different topics, and put them into circulation. Jamarian May says, reports from deep within the mind control apparatus machine. Exactly. And that's really what IPR reporters are, press pass or not. If you're commenting if you're leaving comments, if you're in live chat, or if you're calling, you're giving us perspectives that don't presume the validity of the mainstream media paradigm. We're operating from outside of it. And as I was saying with the callers we were talking about, we're not here reacting to stuff. Truthers are on the edge of their seats, biting their nails, waiting for the next big one, whatever it's going to be, the war, the nuke, the Epstein files. And they're always waiting for the next major big real event because they think the big thing's coming or something, but they're reacting. Their emotions are engaged. They're on a roller coaster. And I think that's part of what creates the addiction. It's called intermittent reinforcement, where the gamblers fall for this one, where you get a reward once in a while if you're constant doom scrolling, then you're more likely to keep doom scrolling. And the less frequent the rewards are, the more addicting it gets, which is very paradoxical. It's far more addicting the less rewarding it is. So they turn you into an info junkie, and they give you nothing but nothing burgers. I mean, Trump was like, tomorrow I'm going to tell it like it is. And the QAnoners are there thinking he's going to drain the swamp tomorrow. And what happened? Just recycled some of his best hits of the campaign 2024. Jamarian May says, hopefully one day Tim will become an AI show host we can watch with our VR headsets and brain chips. I was looking into that. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been busy with research and development. I've been looking into a lot of AI tools and catching up on things. I was learning today how to use something called Novel Draft, which is incredible. And I've tried other similar ones, and this one's easily the best. But it turns out that there's an entire niche for people to create AI avatar influencers. So you create some AI avatar, you put her on Instagram, kind of like Andrew Tate, but instead of trafficking and pimping real women, you're doing it with CGI, AI. And they get followers, and they create content, they get engagement, they get the clicks, and I guess I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but there's a percentage of people out there that are earning revenue and getting engagement that don't actually exist. I mean, who knows? You could be on a dating app, and you could be swiping avatars, and you'd have no way of knowing. But anyway, I was learning about this because I could in fact record my voice, my likeness, and I could be replaced by an AI. And I could just type it in or just have it regurgitated from older content and respond to new stuff. And I'm sure you would notice. But other content creators, maybe not. Depends on what content you're creating. There were some who speculated that Alex Jones had been replaced by an AI likeness of himself. And it's either that or he's just been exercising quite a bit. But it could be. It's within the realm of fakeability, is my point. But I think these are all useful tools, and it's advancing, and everything's getting smarter so fast that you can't be a Luddite about this. And there's a lot of an unnecessary fear put around AI that is unwarranted. So here's something that the caller alluded to. Musk obtained his security clearance in 2022. But it says here, Musk doesn't have access to all of SpaceX's top secret work. So what does that mean? Like he doesn't know. He's never been behind the curtain. Musk is not in the know. If he's not in the know, it's less respectable. I mean, in a way, it's kind of cool. He's like this Truman in a Truman Show. He has no clue what's going on. He just reads the teleprompter. But what is it? Is he a villain? A major mind control villain, Dr. Evil? Or is he a literal puppet, just a crisis actor who's in way over his head and doesn't know what he's a part of? It's a valid question. Let's see what else. And look, you may think that you would never fall for an AI, a fake person, an avatar, but maybe not today. But give it a few, but you also remember too that you're probably one of the top 1 percentile when it comes to discernment and media literacy. Most people aren't at that level. I was fooled by a whale-sized clownfish, and now I believe in whale-sized clownfishes because of one TikTok AI video. But the average person will fall for this stuff. There were studies done that showed that most people will share deep fakes and fake news stories if they agree with it. The will to believe matters more than what is objectively true. But we know it's just going to get better and better and better over the years. In 2 years, it'll be foolproof. And this has been a development in the area of influencer marketing. Because it used to be, if you had a certain look, a certain amount of charisma, you're going to get attention. And people could pay you to sell their products, or you could be an affiliate because of your intrinsic value. You had a certain market value. Well, that's gone. Your looks don't matter anymore because you cannot compete with a better version of you generated by any number of softwares available. And what's happening is that the people who know how to use the software are taking that space. Pretty soon, OnlyFans models will be a thing of the past. They will be replaced by people that look like Thomas Crooks. They look like the Riddler, and they're making AI women, and it's going to replace them. Sorry, but it's happening. Who's not going to be replaced? And some people look at this with trepidation. I understand, but art, writing, music, all these things are being affected, and you can't just pretend it's not happening. What it can't do is it can't originate. I mean, it's all essentially generic. It still does require soul, in my opinion. I don't know if they can fake that yet. But it does sound like an unfair advantage. I can understand that. And it's frustrating. You spend years perfecting a craft, and then somebody can do a prompt and create something similar. But everybody else can as well. I think authenticity still shines. I think it still has far more value. So I wouldn't quit what you're doing. But I think you should avail yourselves of what is available to you if you want to be competitive. So for example, right now we're working on a cartoon series called South Pole. And sure, I could do frame by frame animation, or I could use an AI prompt. Given that today we're living in this environment where there's so much information, you can't spend 3 months working on a cartoon segment. We have to be fast. We have to keep up. But it's not a replacement. It's actually not a replacement for very much. It's just something that can. It's a time saver. It's a labor saving device. But I've been keeping up with it for a lot of reasons. In fact, this is an example. Full disclosure. So this IPS metal cutout design, this isn't actually a photograph of metal that was cut out, nor did I draw this in Photoshop. I created this in Grok. I told Grok to give me a metal cutout design of a penguin beneath the letters IPS. So it just took me a few seconds. Is that cheating? I don't know. To me, there's a point where the end justifies the means, because what we're doing here, meme propagation, we're a very small minority in a crowded field. We have to do what we can. But where we are going to have the greatest advantage, in my opinion, is in print. And in specifically the tabloid print. I think there's a great potential here, and we're only on issue number 2, which is in progress. But what distinguishes the Insider from previous or other tabloids and magazines is that everything in here has a QR code that links to the digital version of it. So, for example, that last caller, I could take the transcript from that call and publish it in the next issue, and publish, let's say, a whole page that somebody might find interesting to read. And at the bottom, I have a QR code where you could scan it, and then you're listening to the actual live stream, or you're listening to the MP3. So it's a reciprocal publication. It exists online in the metaverse and in the meatverse, and that's going to be a consistent feature throughout. But this is, I think, where we have an advantage where, as far as market distinction, everybody can create anything, in the virtual space. But in the real world, it still takes a little something extra. You have to have something with a bit more substance to even justify it. There's a cost involved in producing things in the real world. Okay, so let's see what we covered today. We covered Pizzagate is still a thing in 2025 to some people. It's still cool. It's cool. Joe Rogan says Pizzagate's cool, so we can all like it now. First the ear, then the eye. Ominous symbolism in WWE. Somebody getting slapped by Travis Scott made his ear bleed. Now, my ears would bleed at a Travis Scott concert with all that auto-tune. It was pretty bad if you saw the Astro World. And I'm not against auto-tune per se. It's just, I watched that Travis Scott event where people were getting crushed and he's just up there. It's just this dissonant noise and people are supposedly getting crushed. But he slapped Cody Rhodes in the ear and busted an eardrum, and The Rock hit him in the chest with a belt with the date 6/11 on it. And gave him so he has a black eye and a busted ear. A reporter went to space to report on the stranded astronauts. I mean, that's just strange. It's like some guys on a desert island stranded and the news reporter's there. Like, how are you surviving? It's like, I think you guys kind of, I don't know. They took away the seriousness of it. And then, of course, one of the astronauts has got a beard, a castaway beard. So phony. It's probably a fake beard. Like J.D. Vance's beard. Just a glue on. Do you think he really grew that beard in space? And that's the first. Look, they've never grown a beard in space. I've seen some things in space. I've seen, is it Peg Whitson? Who's the one that spent 666 days in orbit? She got Botox while she was on the ISS. Her eyebrows plucked. She got hair dye. And I'm wondering, how is that even possible in space? It's almost like they're not in space. And they're on the ground. And they have, I don't know, a makeup department. Jamarin May says, all the AI artwork is immediately recognizable and it grows tiresome. I noticed this. Yeah, it's generic. And the fact that you can tell is a good thing. That you can tell the difference. It is a qualitative difference. You can actually tell there's no human touch. It's a distillation of what a lot of people think about this particular concept. However, you can personalize it. You can, in fact, kind of make it skew your way. Like, I think with my prompt engineering, I have come up with something of a recognizable version of a cyborg penguin. And the significance of the cyborg penguin, the significance of it has to do with AI as well. It has to do with taking charge of your own progress. So for the example, singularity, the term coined by John von Neumann, like new man, but the singularity, when man becomes the driver of his own evolution, he's eclipsed nature because now he's got his own technology and now he's driving himself further than nature would have. That's the singularity point. And the idea here with the cyborg penguins is that these penguins have achieved the singularity before us. And the story in the script, if you look at the Penguinati storyline, they were starving, looking for krill. Probably climate change did something. They had to go inland, and they found a retired Cold War base in Antarctica, and it had all kinds of forbidden tech, specifically nootropics, smart drugs. So successive generations of penguins got smarter and smarter. Their cranial capacity expanded. And not only did they get smarter, and they basically took over this base, but they started learning stuff, getting into cyborg augmentations and then Neuralink. So the smarter they get, the more they advance themselves. So the point of it is, using AI, using the technology, we have to inform ourselves beyond what they're going to inform us with. We can't just be passive about media. We have to take active control. Joe Santos said, how did the reporter get to them and not help them get home? I don't get it. Yeah, that's what I mean. The reporter's up there and he's like, sucks you guys are stranded. I hope you don't starve to death. I hope you survive. And then he goes back down. It makes no sense. If they're trying to create the narrative that they're stranded, they shouldn't have done that. Or he was on the wrong side of the set. You know, I mean, it just seems like it was a bad decision if they're trying to create drama. Copaesthetic has brought 5 of the, these are blue titanium wrenches. So Joe Santo, NDB, plain decoded, have all received the blue wrench. And if you have that, it means that you're going to get first view of South Pole. And I have a new video series I'm starting in the mornings. And I think I'm going to call it, I have a few ideas. I'll let you know tomorrow. But I've been getting a lot of comments and I haven't had time to go back and respond to them. But I do read them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to respond to all the comments and you'll see what I'm talking about. And of course, I'm also going to respond to the letters that people send me. Someone just sent me an entire anime comic that they drew. Really good stuff. And I'd like to get more like that and more artwork and stuff that I could put into the Insider. All right, well, we'll continue this conversation tomorrow. We talked about a few things here. Andrew Tate, I think he's in Florida. Here he is talking to Candace Owens. Now, Andrew Tate, I think, is a parody of extremism. In fact, we need to put him in an episode of South Pole. I have an idea for him. Andrew Tate is likely manufactured. I've done a little bit of digging. But what was a red flag for me was when he went under house arrest, a movie came out called Speak No Evil. And Speak No Evil has a villain who's a paragon of toxic masculinity, and he's based on Andrew Tate. And the actor said he didn't know Andrew Tate was going to get into some significant trouble just as the movie came out. Anyway, here he is talking to Candace Owens.
Get me, arrest me, perp walk me, put me on the news, tell everyone I'm a human trafficker. You think I'm not versed? You think I'm not ready? I'm a Navy SEAL in this shit. Fucking come get me, raid my house, take my stuff. You think I sleep with a full phone full of evidence? You think I don't?
Anyway, I think he's a little angry here, but Andrew Tate's business model is a thing of the past. You no longer need to traffic women and isolate them in foreign countries and take away their passports and steal all their OnlyFans money. You just need to hire somebody who knows how to use AI and just create CGI, a CGI harem. That's the future. Tate is the past. All right, we had a number of great phone calls tonight. I want to say thanks to all the callers. Thanks to all of the comments as always. This is Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms. Archives will go out in the email, likely tonight. This is Auto Hoax or GTFO.